Hi, it's Dr. Lori. This is Ask Dr. Lori, where you ask the questions and I give you the expert answers. There's a lot going on in the studio today. Let me tell you, you had audio and this and that, and they're telling me to do this and telling me to do that. I don't know. I'm happy to be answering your questions. Let's get to the first question. Let's see. What do we have here? Oh, wow. Look at how long this question is. Oh, yeah, okay. It's not really a question. Oh, great. Not really a question, and it's long. But a lot of you are saying that the thrift stores and the Goodwill are charging shoppers too much. You know, are you people paying attention to my Real Bargains videos? I'm giving you all these real bargains. All these people are finding real bargains in the bins at Goodwill, at Salvation Army, at the estate sale, online auctions, at the yard sale. Come on. I mean, I'm sorry if you think that they are charging you too much. I even show you which objects you could leave there that probably are overpriced, that aren't worth it, that you can't flip for top dollar. There's a lot of bargains to be had at the thrift stores. I'm going to help you with these questions and answers, and also all my other videos. You can use the Binge Link to binge watch them all, so you know what actually is valuable. But I don't think these things are overpriced. You know, if you think they're charging you too much, you can't make money on them, then you've got to learn from me the better pieces for you to get. But there's lots to be found. There's lots to be had there. Okay, thank you for this. And let's talk about the bowl, because every, of course, episode of Ask Dr. Lori, with your questions from social media or in the comments or anywhere you want to, of course, put the questions, we gather them all up and then we put them in a video here to answer your questions. This particular bowl is, of course, a brass bowl with some handles. It's kind of a bowl. It's kind of a planter. It's made in India. It has a very evident Indian mark, a mark for the India label, very, very typical of the mark. And oftentimes the pieces that you see of brass or these metals that look like brass from India are very, very lightweight and usually low in quality, low value. This piece is probably worth somewhere around $10. It's decorative, it's not hurting anybody, you know, but it's not all that high quality, not all that high value. Okay, that's the bowl. We choose a new one every time. Let's see, what else do we have here? Should you remove the paper from the back of a work of art to find out more about the piece? Okay, the piece of paper that you're talking about is called a dust screen, and it was placed on a work of art to keep dust off of the canvas and off of the stretchers. So a lot of professional framers will add a dust screen on the back of a work of art like that. And that particular example, I would say if you don't have to take the paper off, don't. If for some reason you're looking for an artist signature or a date or information or something, and you think the dust screen or you think the dust screen could come off to find that, you could do it. It doesn't usually damage the piece. It's best to keep the piece intact. The other thing that you might be doing, some of them, if over time the adhesive starts to come away and it starts to kind of fall away, or it's been ripped or torn, if that's already the case, right? So if your piece already has the, oh, well, it's falling apart anyway, then you could take off the dust screen and put a new one on. It's not really, it's more part of the framing than it is part of the original work of art. So if you don't have it, don't worry. If you do have it and it's intact in good shape, leave it alone. If you have to, for some reason, take it off, it won't decrease value. Does that help? I hope that helps. Okay, next one. It's funny with art because, you know, people are sort of afraid to touch it and not afraid to touch it. I always say, you know, paintings are a lot more strong than you think. They're a lot stronger than you think they are. Everyone's afraid of the painting and what to do with it. It's a lot stronger than you might think. Prints, you have to be a little bit more careful. So if you have a dust screen or if you have a print, you don't want to, in fact, be too quick to sort of take the whole thing apart unless you know what you're doing. Because you have to get pliers and take out the framer's points. If it's a 20th century piece, you have to make sure that the adhesive on the backboard that's glued to the mat board can easily be removed. So there are things to do. You know, I remember I was working in a museum and I was working with one of the registrars, and in this particular museum, because it was a small museum, the registrar had the job of the exhibit designer. Usually the exhibition designer in a museum is the person who will be dealing with framing and matting and such. In this museum, because it was so small, the registrar did that. The registrar's job is usually to register what artwork comes in and what artwork goes out. And I remember she said, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this before, Lori. Do you know how to do this? And at the time, I had some experience in taking the dust screens off. But when it comes to prints, you have to be very careful. And when it comes to valuable works of art, you want to be careful about divorcing these pieces. If a piece is glued right down, don't divorce it. Leave it alone. Okay, where are we? My next question. I have a question for you, Dr. Lori. Okay, that's why I'm here. What does it mean when there is a number etched in the bottom of a piece of pottery? I have a very slender piece of pottery with the number 133, and I think that it's like a McCoy, but I don't know. Okay. So, a number etched into a piece of pottery can mean many different things. For example, certain pieces of pottery have numbers that relate to certain things. So if you have a Roseville piece, for example, it might say Roseville, USA, it might say 164, and then it might say 3, and then the quote marks for inches, right? So that means the 3 means inches, right? The other numbers are, in fact, what are called mold numbers, style numbers. The numbers on the bottom, so it could be the mold. What's the number of the mold that makes this particular piece of pottery this shape? It could be that. On another piece of pottery, it could actually mean the designer's code, like an ID number. If I were painting Haviland China, right, I was a China painter, then I might have number 462, and that might mean that I painted it. And there's a number that relates to the code of that particular designer, like an ID number. It could be that. It's rarely the date. Although I say that, and then I think of Briggle Pottery sometimes has the date on it, 1918. So it depends on the thing. So if you're saying, I don't know, it's like, you said it's like McCoy, but I don't know, show me the piece, send me the picture. It's not difficult. So send me the picture, I'll look at the piece and I'll indicate what it is. Oftentimes it's a mold number. But if you have a mold number and it says 1742, well, guess what? It wasn't made in 1742, the year. It probably is a mold number. So there you go. Thanks for that question. That's a good question. Next question. Yes, ceramics can be difficult and ceramics can be easy. I think a lot of people who don't know a lot about art and antiques tend to gravitate towards ceramics because you can look up the marks. And it is kind of fun. It's kind of like a game show, to look up the marks and to find the mark. You go, oh, I found the mark. I searched all these pages. But then there are others of you who say, oh, I don't care about looking up all of these marks. So it's kind of easy to look up the mark and to know what you found. But it's also important to understand all the different nuances of marks. And the nuances are really where, the metal meets the road or the boys get separated from the men. Because those particular marks are not all that easy to identify. Just because you found one on an internet site, that doesn't mean that that source is correct. So, all right, let's see where we are here. I have a big collection of old Superman comic books that have never been looked at. I just put them in a comic see-through sleeve, and I guess that's plastic, with a piece of cardboard. Oh my gosh, what are you putting cardboard next to? Anything. Cardboard is terrible. Cardboard releases acidity. Cardboard attracts bugs. Cardboard likes moisture, and it will take in moisture and wetness and dampness. Cardboard is crappy. Do not use cardboard if you can avoid it. Cardboard is to ship the boxes here and there. But cardboard not for anything else, not around works of art, not around your collection of comic books, please. The sleeves are very good, see-through plastic sleeves. So let me finish. I'm sorry, I got sidetracked because I got like cardboard crazy. Let's see. I just put them in the comic see-through sleeve with a piece of cardboard inside the sleeve to keep them from bending. Okay, you don't want to do that. If you want to have something in there in the sleeve with you, acid-free foam core or acid-free mat board inside the plastic sleeve. I'm not even crazy about that, although that's one solution to keep them from bending, to keep them straight. And I'm not crazy about that, and the reason I'm not crazy about that is because you still are introducing something within the plastic, and then what you're doing is kind of baking all these elements together, so that's a problem. It's worse if you have them in a cardboard box. I don't want that. And I have them all in a nice cardboard box. Well, there you go. That's not what I want. No cardboard boxes. A Solander box, an acid-free Solander box. Yes, we offer them on our website, but acid-free Solander box will keep out light, will keep out damage, will help them to be maintained, and then you want to put pieces of acid-free tissue paper in between each one and sort of make a sandwich. So the bottom of the box, and then a comic book, and then a piece of acid-free tissue paper, and then a comic book. If you want to keep them in the plastic sleeves, you can, but no cardboard, and not a cardboard box either. And then you ask at the end, how do I store the comic books properly? Well, I told you that, Solander Box. And do you appraise comic books? Yes, I appraise comic books. And comic books in a collection. So you want to have amassed the collection of, each one, each edition, each number 1, number 2, number 3, Marvel Comics, DC Comics, whatever it might be. So, good questions, but please, don't be overzealous with the cardboard. The cardboard is not good for you, for the pieces. All right, let's see, what else have we got? I remember I was watching one of those shows, when the old, I've been on TV for 20 years, so when the old HGTV used to have the antique shows on, so I was on one of those shows, but I was watching one of the other shows, and they're showing a collection of prints, and this expert, with air quotes, is showing the collection of prints, and they're showing the cardboard boxes. And they're saying you could get these crates, and you can get these cardboard boxes, and it will be great to store your works on paper. It's never good to store your works on paper that way. Remember, works on paper, comic books, prints, those kinds of things, photographs, don't want to be in cardboard, and they like to live in the dark in Solander boxes, which are acid-free. You got to be careful, because if the bugs get at them, or the wetness and the dampness gets at them, the moisture gets at them, the acidity from cardboard, you won't have your collection. Longtime viewer here, Dr. Lori. Thanks for all the knowledge. Here's my question. Well, you're welcome. I'm happy to share the knowledge. I hope you're using it to your benefit. That's what I want you to do. I want you to learn it. It's all for free. You've got to watch. What you have to do for me, share. Share the videos. Use the Binge Link. Watch. There's lots of tidbits of information. They're chock full of information that's accurate. I've been buying original paintings, looking at the back for age and frames. How do I determine what paintings to buy, and how do I sort through the valuable ones? I'm running out of room in my apartment. Well, that's the thing about art collectors. A lot of art collectors will have their paintings, floor to ceiling kind of thing. So if you're running out of room in the apartment and you don't know what to do, there is something called Salon Style that you could that was the Paris Salon or the French Salon, where the art critics of people like the Impressionists, right, of the 19th century would look at the paintings of all these artists who were part of the Salon, who were professional artists, and they would be hung Salon style, so one right next to another on a wall. Now, it doesn't look great in your apartment probably, but that's one of the ways that you can get them up off the floor. Remember, you don't want to lay paintings under beds, and you don't want to lay them on top of one another, right? They shouldn't be stacked like china plates. They should basically be leaned up against the wall, back to back and face to face. So, how do you determine what paintings are in fact valuable and what are not valuable? How do I tell a random local artist versus a well-known artist? Okay, well, that depends on whether or not the piece is signed. That depends on whether or not you recognize the work of a particular artist. So just because an artist is well-known, that doesn't mean that their work is necessarily more valuable than an artist who is local and well-known, right? So sometimes in local areas, you will find that people have a strong community interest in a local artist's work. That's true in a lot of places where people say, oh, well, I always want this person's work, and they didn't get onto the national stage, they just sold locally. So that's one of the things. Now, how do you tell? You go by names, you said, you go by style, you go by signature. If the people in the paintings look to scale in the landscape, and should I judge the frames? Is any of this bad thinking? All of this is very good thinking. So here's what I want you to think about. Yes, look at signatures, but don't only look at signatures. Look at the signature and compare the signature to other works of art by that same artist in that same time period. Because an artist may sign his name one way in his early period, the early part of his career, and sign it a totally different way in the late part of his career. Don't think it's a forgery just because it's a little bit different. Second, look at the different types or materials being used to sign a painting. So, are they signing the painting with the same paint they used in the painting itself? Are they signing with a magic marker in the 1920s before we see magic markers? Are they signing in pencil when you expect them to sign in pen? Whatever it might be. So be aware of that. The other things you want to look for is you want to look for the date, You want to look for the condition. You want to look for the quality of the pieces. Frames are a good point. Usually people will put a good frame on a good work of art, but again, I've seen frames that are not all that good on good works of art, so be aware of that as well. None of this is bad thinking. One of the best things that you noted is looking at the figures in a landscape and seeing if they actually are to scale. See if the artist knows what he's doing. Look at the mastery of the pieces. Next question. Hi, Dr. Lori. My grandmother recently passed, and while going through her estate, we got to inventorying her mass costume jewelry stockpile. I found a gold-colored chain with a heart-shaped locket. The chain was marked 14-karat gold on the clasp. Does the 14-karat gold mark on the clasp speak only for the chain, or does that mean that the heart-shaped locket is also 14-karat gold? No, the heart-shaped locket must be marked 14-karat gold to be 14-karat gold. You have a 14-karat gold chain only. If you don't have a mark on the other piece, it's not 14-karat gold. But look through that costume jewelry stockpile if you need my help with appraisals, because the costume jewelry is valuable. If books should be lying on their sides, how many other books can be lying on top of each of those books? Sorry if it's a dumb question. Nothing's a dumb question. I don't care. Ask me anything you want. I don't think anything's a dumb question. Ask me anything you want. But it seems everyone's books are always standing straight up. So I have said many times that you should lay the books down just because everybody else is doing it. Remember when your mother would say, would you jump off a bridge if everybody else is falling up a bridge? Let me tell you, with very important books, with books that are vintage, with books that are antique, with books that are of high quality, they should not be upright like soldiers. They should be laying on their side. No more than 3 or 4 books stuck on top of each other, depending on the size of the book. If you got a dictionary size book, 3 books. If you've got a regular, size book, maybe an inch thick for the binding, 4 books, and that's it. And I don't want you to do much more with the books. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean it's right. Right? I'm the expert. I'm here to help you. Thanks for your questions. Keep them coming. I'm Dr. Lori. I'm happy to give the answers. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Don't forget to share.